This woman is stopped at the boarding gate, told she can't take her dog on the flight. The pilot refuses to budge, sparking a heated argument. But moments later, he discovers who she really is. And what happens next will leave you stunned. At gate 14, Emily Harper stood calmly, a small dog carrier strapped securely over her shoulder. Inside, Max, her golden terrier mix, shifted nervously, his big brown eyes peering out through the mesh. "Just a little longer, Max," Emily whispered, stroking the carrier. The gate agent behind the counter, however, didn't share Emily's calm. She glanced at the monitor, her brow furrowed. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but it looks like your dog isn't cleared for this flight. He's not listed on the manifest." Emily's calm demeanor faltered for a moment. "That's not possible," she said firmly. "I booked this flight weeks ago and included Max in the reservation. I have all the documentation right here." The agent hesitated. "I'll need to check with the pilot. He has the final say on animals in the cabin." Emily exhaled slowly, gripping the strap of Max's carrier tighter. She crouched to check on him, her voice soft and steady. "It's okay, Max, we'll get through this." But inside she was already bracing for a battle. Minutes later, a tall, broad-shouldered man approached the counter. Captain Bryce Whittaker, dressed in his crisp uniform, exuded authority as he glanced from Emily to the carrier. "What's the issue here?" he asked, his tone brisk. "She's trying to bring her dog on board, but he's not listed in the manifest," the agent explained. Bryce frowned and crossed his arms. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't allow an unregistered animal on the flight. It's against policy." Emily stood, meeting his gaze directly. "Max is registered. I have all the paperwork. His health records, vaccination certificates, proof of booking, all of it." She held out a neatly organized folder. Bryce glanced at it but didn't take it. "It's not just about paperwork. Other passengers might have allergies or concerns. I can't prioritize your dog over everyone else on board." Emily's jaw tightened, but her voice remained calm. "Max is not a safety issue. He's traveled with me on this airline countless times without a problem. Why is this flight different?" Bryce's tone hardened. "Because I'm responsible for the safety and comfort of everyone on that plane. It's my call, and I'm saying no." Emily took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Captain, with all due respect, this isn't about safety or comfort. This is about following the rules. I've done everything required to bring Max on board, and you're denying us without cause." Passengers nearby began to take notice, their conversations pausing as they watched the exchange unfold. A few whispered, while others openly glanced at Max's carrier with sympathy. Bryce glanced around, aware of the growing attention. "Ma'am, you're holding up the line. If you can't board without the dog, you'll need to rebook your flight." Emily crouched again, opening the carrier slightly to let Max see her face. "We're not leaving, Max," she whispered softly. She straightened, meeting Bryce's gaze once more. "I'm not abandoning him. Either we both board, or neither of us does." The tension at the gate was palpable now. A man in the waiting area spoke up. "Why not let her on? The dog's not bothering anyone." Another passenger chimed in. "Yeah, she's got all the papers. What's the problem?" Bryce's jaw tightened. He held up a hand to silence the murmurs. "This isn't up for debate," he said firmly. But Emily wasn't backing down. "Captain Whittaker," she said, her voice steady, "Max is more than just a dog. He's a survivor, and I won't let anyone treat him like he doesn't matter." Bryce's eyes narrowed. "And what's that supposed to mean?" Emily didn't answer. Instead, she lifted Max's carrier and stepped aside, sitting down in a nearby chair. "I'm not leaving," she said simply. Passengers exchanged glances, some shaking their heads, others murmuring their support. Bryce glanced at the gate agent, clearly frustrated. "We'll see about that," he muttered under his breath, walking away. Emily remained seated, stroking Max through the carrier. She knew this wasn't just about one flight, it was about standing up for him, for all the abuse he'd endured, and the second chance he deserved. and somewhere in the back of her mind, she wondered how much this pilot truly understood about the decision he was making. Captain Bryce Whittaker strode down the jetway, his frustration barely contained. He couldn't understand why one passenger, and her dog, was causing such a disruption. As far as he was concerned, rules were rules. But something about the woman's unwavering determination gnawed at him, even as he tried to shake it off. Back at the gate, Emily sat quietly with Max in her lap, gently stroking his head through the open carrier. The other passengers whispered amongst themselves, some visibly upset about the delay. A young woman approached Emily, crouching beside her seat. "I just wanted to say I'm so sorry you're dealing with this," the woman said. "It's obvious how much you love your dog. I hope they let you on." Emily gave her a small, grateful smile. "Thank you. Max means everything to me. I can't leave him behind." The woman nodded, standing to return to her seat. Across the gate area, a man muttered loudly, "It's just a dog. She should move on so we can all leave." His words drew glares from a few passengers, but Emily didn't react. Suddenly, the gate agent approached her again, looking uncomfortable. "Ma'am, Captain Whittaker has asked for you to step aside so we can continue boarding. He said he'll speak with you once everyone is seated." Emily stood, her composure intact. "Fine, but I'm not leaving until we've resolved this." She picked up Max's carrier and moved to a quieter corner of the gate, her calm masking the frustration building inside her. Meanwhile, Bryce stepped into the cockpit, grabbing his phone. Something about the way Emily had spoken to him earlier lingered in his mind. "He's a survivor," she'd said. What did she mean by that? Curiosity got the better of him, and he searched her name online. The results were immediate. Headlines and images filled the screen, detailing Emily Harper's work as an animal rights advocate. She had founded an organization dedicated to rescuing abused and neglected animals, and had been instrumental in passing legislation to protect them. One article featured a photo of her holding Max, the same small dog she now carried. The story detailed Max's horrific past. He had been rescued from a dogfighting operation, severely injured and left for dead. Emily's organization had saved him, nursed him back to health, and brought his abusers to justice. Bryce stared at the screen, the weight of the situation sinking in. This wasn't just a dog, and Emily wasn't just a passenger. She was someone who had fought tirelessly to give animals like Max a second chance. And now, here she was, being told to leave him behind. He sighed, leaning back in his seat. "I screwed up," he muttered under his breath. Back at the gate, Emily was still waiting, her calm exterior beginning to crack. Max let out a soft whimper, and she crouched to comfort him. "It's okay, buddy," she whispered. "We're going to get through this." Just then, Bryce reappeared, his expression unreadable as he approached her. "Ms. Harper," he began, his tone softer now. "Can I speak with you privately for a moment?" Emily stood, keeping Max's carrier close. "Of course." He led her to a quiet corner of the gate area, away from the other passengers. Bryce hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I looked you up," he admitted. "I know who you are and what you've done for animals like Max. I didn't realize—" Emily raised an eyebrow. "You didn't realize what? That this just a dog has survived things no living creature should ever endure? Or that he's more than just an animal? He's a part of my family." Bryce's shoulders sagged slightly. "You're right," he said, his voice low. "I made a judgment call without understanding the full story. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I see now that I was wrong." Emily didn't say anything at first. She studied his face, searching for sincerity. Finally, she asked, "Does that mean Max and I can board?" Bryce nodded. "Yes, and I'd like to personally apologize for putting you through this." Relief washed over Emily's face, though she kept her tone measured. "Thank you. But it shouldn't have taken this long to get here." "I know," Bryce said quietly. "I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." As Emily rejoined the line to board, the passengers who had supported her smiled and offered quiet congratulations. Max rested peacefully in his carrier, unaware of the fight Emily had just won for him. Bryce stood at the gate, watching her disappear down the jetway. For the first time in years, he felt the sting of regret, not for enforcing rules, but for failing to see the humanity and compassion in someone who'd been fighting for it all along. This flight wasn't just another journey. It was the start of a lesson Bryce didn't realize he needed to learn. It's incredible how far someone will go to fight for what they love, even when the odds are stacked against them. What do you think this story says about second chances, for animals and for people? Share your thoughts below, and if you felt connected to this journey, consider subscribing for more.